Sometimes I hear dark voices. When the wind is blowing just right. Listen closely against that fading light. Did they live here in our home? So very long ago. I listen and I wonder. But I will never know.
The world as we know it is about to end.
We are fighting the fake news.
We choose to go to the moon.
It's flat.
You're afraid of ghosts. And she said, well, I saw one last night.
We're talking about a fascist global society.
Oh, freedom of what's on the essay. Oh my gosh. Look at that thing, dude.
This is Skeptics Anonymous. Episode 1, Introduction.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Skeptics Anonymous here on Nerdy Blurb TV with your hosts, Ryan
and Brandon, a realistic show on the truly unexplained.
What that means is that we talk about unexplained things, the paranormal, the supernatural, the conspiratorial, and we figure out our own standing about them while we look at the other's perspective. These things are so unexplained, they're so crazy, they're so out there, maybe, possibly, we might change our views. And Brandon and I go way back. Friends, colleagues, and now we're YouTube buddies as he has moved away to Seattle and me just here in Utah. We connect here because Brandon wanted to continue the crazy conversations we have at work and in our own personal lives.
You know it. Ryan and I, we don't always agree. And that's probably one of the only things we can always agree on.
I don't know if there's one singular truth that is to be holden yet. And while we're open to it, and even though we may disagree, we do have civil conversations that are just fun. And if you're here to dive into the rabbit hole, this might not be your place because we're just here to have fun. We're not here to examine everything, even though it might run away from us a little bit. And we do that sometimes. We're here to learn a little bit about what we believe in and have a good time doing so because we're going to cover crazy things, right, Brandon?
Yeah, and I have a great time, Ryan has a great time, and we hope that you guys have a great time too. We are going to run you guys through all of the paranormal, all of the unexplained, the UFOs, the aliens, the grays, the white talls, the Bigfoot. Does he really knock on the wood? If no one's around to hear it, does it get hurt? We don't know, and we're going to find out on a super shallow conversation.
But as this is an introduction to the actual series itself, we just wanted to gain a footing about where we stand when it comes to just all of the unexplained things in general. Are we more of a skeptic or are we more of a believer? We're going to dive into that right here in Our Truth.
Your Truth.
Do you consider yourself more of a skeptic than a believer in the unexplained?
I am a believer.
What helps you believe in any of the things that you actually do believe in or could help you believe in more?
Audio and video proof.
Do you believe that your position on any of these, true or fiction, has an effect on mankind if they were true?
I do believe. Ryan, do you consider yourself more of a skeptic than a believer in the unexplained?
I would say my overarching percentage would be way more skeptic than a believer.
What sources help you believe in any of the things you believe or could help you believe in more?
I know this sounds weird, but eyewitness accounts from people.
Do you believe that your position on any of these, true or fiction, has an effect on mankind?
Yes, I believe so.
What? Okay.
And now, a message from our supporters.
Podyssey is the online community where podcast lovers can discover and discuss their favorite podcasts regardless of the podcast player that they use. You can track your listens, curate playlists for friends and the community. You can even recommend your favorite podcast shows. Shows like Weird Darkness by Derek Marlar, who talks about and dives deep into creepypastas, paranormal activity, and true crime events. So much more is out there for you to find. You can find your favorite podcast today. Download the app for free or visit Podyssey at podyssey.fm.
Okay, back up. Before the break, you said that the thing that will help you believe the most are eyewitness accounts. You got to explain that to me, because that was my last placed option.
Yeah, and I would imagine it would be pretty low for a lot of people. And we say it a lot, all the time. And one of the biggest reasons why we wanted to do this is because Brandon and I are in the digital media field. And so you would imagine, you can only imagine how much we put in stock with that. And I do, but I know how easy it is to fake stuff. Like, there are a lot of things out there that are, it's for me, it's process of elimination. Science, for me, sure, you can honestly, in my opinion, you can prove almost anything with science, even fabrications. I'm not saying that's a big conspiracy in itself. It's just that I don't have access to a lot of science out there, other than fake news that are saying, "Oh, scientists have now proven this," and I'm like, "Well, like, you also said that freaking like one-eyed monster came out of like Kansas City River, you know, like whatever, you know."
That's my number one problem with science too, is that it's who has the truth actually, and what are they doing with it.
Yeah, I'm not saying that it's completely false. Like, if I knew how the science worked and then I saw it in front of me, perfect. But I'm dumb. I'm dumb. I'm stupid. I don't know how the science works. I don't even know what biology covers. Other than photo and video, it's like, it's just so easy to me, because I have that experience. It would be so hard for me to fake the science because I'm not a scientist, but I am an editor. I am a videographer. I know how I would do things. So to me, that would be the first thing that I discredit right out of the gate. Because when I see somebody tell me their story or hear it from their perspective, like, I have stories that we will cover down the road that I know you will disagree with. But to me, the conviction is completely there because of how convinced they were when they told me the story.
So would you say intuition is your second place then?
No, because sometimes I don't trust myself. So I have to rely on somebody else when it comes to crazy things like this, because like, I don't actively go out of my way. I don't know about you. I don't know if you're hitting up trails and setting out cam trails for Bigfoot or Sasquatch or anything.
Chemtrails?
Yeah,
Sorry.
or chemtrails is a whole other thing too. But like, when it comes to like just me seeking these out, I'm not getting a Ouija board. I'm not sitting down trying to call into the other realms or anything. But that's just how it is. That's just how my life is. That's how it's panned out. And I think when it comes to anybody, they lean towards what they're most familiar with when it comes to learning things. And that's definitely how I've been convinced of a lot of things.
Okay, so I can get on board with that. The reason why, for me, audio video was number one and eyewitness was the last is because I've definitely been in situations where my emotions have dramatically shaped the reality of the situation. And I've seen that in other people. And so when I get first-hand accounts, also, I love believing people. I love just diving into it, but I know that I'm more infatuated with the story a lot of times than I am with being critical about the event. With photo or with video, with visual or audible evidence, because of the background that you and I have in the digital media industry, it's really easy for me to have a lot more points of verification, specifically in video, to be able to say, yes, this is something that is authentic. This at least existed in real life. And you can find that out through bitrate, chromatic aberration. You can find that out through environmental lighting, because everyone except for the really, really, really professional people pretty much sucks at environmental lighting with objects. You know, motion blur, pixelation. There's a lot of factors that someone has to be, you know, not only do they have to be deliberately professional or have a professional level of expertise to create something like that, they also have to have the time and the desire to do that. And I feel like those two combinations are far less likely than someone going through an experience, having that rush of emotions that basically can change the lighting or their experience of what actually ended up happening.
And I agree with that. That's why photo, video, all of that would be second to none after, or second after freaking eyewitness accounts, because I agree with all of that. That's why I think I'm more answering the first question. I'm way more of a skeptic. I do want to believe. I could have answered that way, but like, it's just way too overweighed with like, in an age where we live in the Instagram famous and the TikTok like moguls, you know, like, I just feel like people are definitely going to take that time, are definitely going to go through that effort to get that recognition, and just to get people watching, really, rather than finding out what the truth is, which goes back to why I don't believe in the whole whatever scientists come out with nowadays, because they could switch the samples, you know, freaking to push pro-Vasic, whatever, you know, like,
they're the same like, people with the degree. They're the same as social media Mongols. It's
just TikTokers who are getting paid a little bit more on a different platform.
To support this show, find us wherever you listen to podcasts and subscribe on YouTube.
Some of the difficulty that I find in talking with people about this stuff is that if you try to run over them with your beliefs, it just becomes a whole mess, and you never end up converting someone to understanding you at all. And that's, as a believer, that's something that I've had to get myself educated on, because like I said before, I do believe I've had more than one experience, and it wasn't like, you know, for me, it wasn't like life altering, but it was a pivotal moment, because I had to conceptualize and consider what I was experiencing, and, you know, say, okay, what does this mean now for me as an individual? And that kind of brings us to the point of what you and I both agreed on, which is what if this were true, how would it be pivotal for mankind, or would it dramatically affect mankind?
Right. And I feel like that's been, because I've asked a lot of people outside the poll that we took with a considerable amount of people throughout this series. A fair amount of people have actually responded. We appreciate everybody who had done this, because that helps us when it comes to understanding what humankind believe in when it comes to this, because I feel like you and I have unique views from other people, and that has been the hardest question, is the thing that you believe in, all of the things that you believe in, do you think that they would have an effect? And a lot of people are just like, well, I don't know what that means, because one thing could and then one thing couldn't. There's so many things, and I see that the same way, because if aliens are really real, like, that like changes everything. Not only, in my opinion, does that change everything, but that means that we've been, for the last 2020 years, have been missing out on the universe, like everything out there, that it's not about all of us, that we're just a dinky little rock in this huge pebble forest. It's like, that's crazy. But then when I look at like ghosts, or even freaking like Loch Ness monster, even, like, I don't know. I look at that, I was just like, sweet, I'm going into work on Monday though, like he's out there, he's just chilling, but there's squatters out there living in the forest all the time. Are they the real Bigfoot? Who knows? But as soon as we find out whether he's real or not out there, he's not going to come storm the castle and kill all of us. So that's been really hard for me to have in conversation. But like, you and I have talked about it. I think personally, aliens just trump, in my opinion, trump everything. Like, if ghosts were real, sure, maybe possibly there's an afterlife, which is kind of a big deal, but that doesn't really change anything right now. Like, right now we're alive and well, but there's friggin' aliens up there, and that means we could go there. We could just be a part of the galaxy.
And not only that, kind of like what you touched on before, it has a potentiality to reshape the entire history of the Earth, because if they do exist, how long and how did they actually connect with the Egyptians to teach them how to assemble those pyramids? Stonehenge, a lot of the unexplainable architecture that is really the only evidence we have of previous civilizations. That is, you got to seriously ask yourself, did they influence these previous generations? Because if they did, then what kind of influence, and what does that do to religion? And it's an incredibly explosive. That would just launch everyone's reality into the stars, literally. Even
possibly, did we come from? Are we those they? Did we come from somewhere else and populate this world? Crazy things. And when I try to have these conversations at work, which you don't work at anymore, I get crazy stares like none other. And the people I work with, and it's just like, it's a lot of eye rolling, it's a lot of whatever. But like, seriously though, like, just think for a minute, anyone who's listening or watching for a second, any of the things that you do believe in, if they were real, or if they weren't, to be honest, some of them maybe not, what would that mean for the rest of humanity?
Worldview stats.
So now that we understand where ourself stands at the end of every show, we have our worldview stats segment where we look and see what the rest of the world believes in as well, so that we can compare our own standing with the world's. But Brandon, when it comes to you as a person, as a human, do you feel like you have more radical views on, as a believer yourself, do you have more radical views about the unexplained than maybe the rest of the world might?
I would say I tend to think I do, just because when I try to do soft touches in my friend circle with this type of stuff, I don't typically get an overwhelmingly supportive response. I kind of tend to think that I do have more of an uncommon vantage point.
Okay, so Brandon, in your opinion, do you think that more people consider themselves to be a skeptic in the unexplained, or do you think that they're way more of a believer, or do you think that people want to believe?
I think that people tend to think that they believe. When I get on one-on-one conversations with people, they're way more open to believing.
So within those same friend circles that we have, it surprises me how many of the people I thought were for sure believers are people who are saying way more that I want to believe. I don't know why they want to believe. I just know that that's usually been the case. So I would say that people are are looking for that. And so I would say people lean more to wanting to believe more than actually being an outright skeptic like myself.
That makes sense. All right, then the next question is, Ryan, if they believe in anything, what are the best sources to help them believe?
See, and this is unique for me because I really feel like I'm on the bottom end of this statistic for sure. I actually think that people might lean towards what you're saying. I feel like a lot of people are a little bit too much plugged into the news, and there's a lot of fake news out there. So I feel like a lot more people are going to say they believe in the science part of the unexplained.
See, I also think that people are going to lean into science specifically because that's the number one consensus that comes down to, well, is if it was real, science would know about it. And I have my own. When we get into our government conspiracy episodes, I'll fully express my opinion on that.
So that only leaves the last question that we hit pretty hard on. Do you think people are still going to do their 9 to 5 if aliens are showing up? Or do you think that everyone's going to lose their mind if they find out that aliens exist, that time travel is real, or that freaking ghosties are floating around?
Oh, that is a hard one to answer, especially in the midst of the coronavirus that we're currently experiencing, because I feel like we've been set for both of those scenarios to have taken place, and people did lose their minds, and they still went to work if they could.
That's true. I mean, we're talking about the whole spectrum of what we're going to be covering here: Bigfoot and aliens and government conspiracies when it comes to deep states and everything. I feel like that more than anything we're starting to see, and more people are opening their eyes. If it were to come out straight up and be like, there is a deep state, it is the Illuminati, it's been Beyonce and freaking Jay-Z, then yeah, I feel like a lot more people would be cool with that if it really was.
Oh, hell yeah.
Exactly.
That's my boy.
In my personal opinion, if aliens came down to the White House, I would be like, why isn't anybody else taking this more serious? Crazy UAPs are out there, UFOs, whatever they are, but they're acknowledging that they don't know what it is. And that's still not headline news somehow. Somehow it's not headline news. Justin Bieber's beating it out on things that happened in 2004 and then finally make news in 2019. Justin Bieber is beating out headlines. So I want to say no on this. Long answer short. I don't think people are going to freak out.
They don't care enough about stuff that doesn't directly impact their sphere of life.
And you know what? If you consider yourself to be one of those people, comment down below. And while you do that, subscribe to Nerdy Blurb TV or any other platforms that we have, because we're going to show you these world stats every time that we do an episode. So buckle up. This might be surprising to you or not. Take a look at this.
34% of people said that they are way more of a believer. It's kind of crazy because then 39% say that they're skeptic. That's a little bit higher than I thought it was going to be. Some people are on the fence. Some want to believe. It's not. I mean, the margins there aren't crazy. But what helps people believe in those things so much more so is eyewitness accounts, which
really
only tells that I am right again. And 26 of those people, 26%, are on the fence in between intuition and science. So that's kind of cool in itself, as you can see there. But this is the big one. Do people believe that their position on any of these things, true or false? As you can see, 60% of these people are saying no, it doesn't change anything.
See, and that's what I kind of expected. I'm not going to actually lie. I had less faith in humanity to answer that one accurately, considering the complexities that we're dealing with right now, and the fact that that is something that people believe. Like, I don't know. I think they're totally right there, because The Pentagon's talking about UFOs, and we're still upset about people not wearing masks more than we're amazed that the Pentagon has admitted that there's UFOs. Are you freaking kidding me?
I know, I agree. So that's going to wrap it up for us here today until we come out with some new stuff talking about what?
Next episode is aliens, the UFOs, the UAPs. What are they? Where did they come from? And why are they here? Can you go on a ride with one and not have a sexual experience? All that and more in our next episode. I'm serious. A lot of people, it's like 70% of people who claim that they're abducted end up having a one-night stand, apparently, of some sorts.
Sex must just be like shaking hands over in their planet or something. If that's what they're doing, first chance they get with human beings is a little bit of fondling there and a little bit of tweaking there. I mean, that's got to be a Tuesday afternoon for these aliens over at Blargon 7.
Sex must be like shaking hands. That is just such a bad visual.
So don't visualize it anymore. If you don't want to visualize anymore, don't subscribe here, because that's the ridiculous stuff we're going to be talking about next time right here on Skeptics Anonymous, aliens, UFOs. We're going to dive into what Brandon and I believe and then reveal what the rest of the world believes. I'm going to tell you, I think it's going to be pretty interesting. So until next time, peace out, human beings.
Live long and prosper, bitches.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in here today at Nerdy Blurb TV and checking out this video. Consider subscribing if you're into this kind of stuff, because we like to keep it nerdy here and interact with cool individuals such as yourself. Have a great day.